Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News, where the world has apparently decided to put every crisis in the same grocery bag and then hand it to America with the eggs on the bottom. Today we got Trump in Beijing, Iran choking the oil hose, gas prices climbing like a raccoon up a power pole, Washington scandals falling out of the ceiling, and enough court drama to make a courthouse ask for hazard pay. Segment 1. The G2 Summit and the World's Weirdest Buddy Comedy. President Donald Trump wrapped up his big Beijing summit with Chinese President Xi Jinping, and the whole thing had the energy of two rich neighbors arguing over a property line while everybody else on the block is trying to keep their house from catching fire. Trump leaned into this whole G2 idea, basically saying America and China are the two big dogs now, which sounds powerful until you realize it also sounds like the rest of the world got downgraded to lawn furniture. Xi got exactly what he wanted out of the optics: equal footing, red carpets, handshakes, and the vibe that America is no longer the only guy at the poker table with sunglasses and fake confidence. It was sold as diplomacy, but it looked more like two men trying to split the planet like a coupon pizza at a gas station. Trump claimed there were fantastic trade deals, including talk of huge Boeing purchases, soybean sales, crude oil commitments, and enough shiny economic promises to make Wall Street briefly squint and say, "Is that real, or is that just campaign confetti?" But investors did not exactly break into a line dance, because a promise that big without confirmation is like your cousin saying he is definitely buying a bass boat after his scratch-off hits. Underneath the jokes, the serious part is that America went into this summit needing relief because inflation, war costs, and oil chaos are punching the economy right in the lunchbox. And China walked in knowing that when your opponent needs help putting out a barn fire, that is a fine time to start negotiating who owns the barn. Segment 2. Taiwan gets treated like a poker chip. The most uncomfortable part of the summit was Taiwan, because nothing says stable world order like discussing a democracy's security while trying not to upset the country threatening it. Xi made it clear that Taiwan is the big red button in the relationship, the kind of issue where one wrong move turns the diplomatic buffet into a folding chair wrestling match. Meanwhile, the White House delayed a major arms package to Taiwan, reportedly to keep things smooth with Beijing, which is the foreign policy version of hiding your friend in the garage because your new buddy does not like him. America used to talk about strategic ambiguity, but now it feels like strategic, "Let me check with China first." And that is not exactly the sound of confidence echoing across the Pacific. Taiwan responded by pushing forward its own big defense budget, which is basically saying, "Fine, if the security umbrella has holes in it, we will buy raincoats." Senators from both parties warned the White House not to bargain away Taiwan like an old tractor at an estate auction, because once allies think your promises have surge pricing, everybody starts shopping for backup plans. Japan is nervous, Europe is nervous, and every middle power on Earth is watching this G2 talk like a squirrel watching two lawnmowers approach from different directions. The grounded point is simple. When America treats alliances like optional accessories, adversaries get bold, allies get twitchy, and the whole map starts looking like it was drawn by somebody balancing a checkbook during a tornado. Segment 3. Iran, Hormuz, and the gas pump hostage situation. While Trump was shaking hands in Beijing, the Middle East was still cooking hotter than a county fair funnel cake fryer, because the US-Israel war with Iran has turned into the kind of mess that makes mission accomplished sound like something written on a wet napkin. Operation Epic Fury may have smashed Iranian military targets and killed top leadership, but that did not magically create peace, Because wars have this annoying habit of not ending just because somebody made a dramatic PowerPoint. Iran did not fold like a cheap lawn chair. It shifted into survival mode, using the Strait of Hormuz like a giant hand around the world's fuel hose. That little strip of water moves a huge chunk of global oil and gas, and when it gets blocked, your local gas station starts acting like it serves champagne. Now the blockade is squeezing everyone, and the gas pump is where regular folks get their daily foreign policy briefing. Except instead of charts, it just says $4.51 a gallon and makes your debit card whimper. Oil prices are up, energy inventories are falling, shipping lanes are a nightmare, and everybody from truckers to grocery stores is quietly passing the pain down the line like the world's worst potluck casserole. Congress tried to claw back war authority, but the measure failed by one vote, which is a very Washington way of saying, we almost had accountability, but then somebody blinked near the snack table. The serious part is that Iran does not need to beat America in a straight fight if it can make the whole world pay the cover charge. And right now, the cover charge smells like diesel and regret. Segment 4. Stagflation comes riding in on a leaking pickup. The economy is now stuck in that ugly word nobody likes to say unless they are trying to ruin breakfast. Stagflation. Inflation is rising, growth is wobbling, gas is expensive, interest rates are stubborn, and consumers are getting squeezed like a ketchup packet under a truck tire. The administration is floating a federal gas tax holiday, which sounds helpful until you realize it saves maybe 18 cents a gallon while prices have jumped like a deer through a windshield. That is not relief. That is putting a Band-Aid on a chainsaw and asking everyone to admire the healthcare innovation. And because this is America, every solution has a hidden fee, like a carnival ride run by accountants. The gas tax pays for the Highway Trust Fund, meaning suspending it could drain billions from road and transit funding while barely denting the actual problem, which is that oil supply got body slammed by a war and a blockade. So we might save a few coins at the pump today, then hit a pothole tomorrow big enough to qualify as an inland sea. Underneath the comedy, the lesson is painfully clear. You cannot tax holiday your way out of a supply shock, just like you cannot fix a busted septic tank by lighting a candle in the living room. Segment 5. Scandals, Courts, and the National Mall Prayer Button. Back home, Washington is handling all this pressure with the calm professionalism of a possum trapped in a Dollar General. Former Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer is out after a pile of misconduct allegations. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is under pressure over scrutiny tied to his past association with Jeffrey Epstein, and FBI Director Kash Patel is catching heat over a Hawaii trip that somehow involved a VIP snorkel tour. That is a lot of ethical smoke in one building, and at some point you stop asking where the fire is and start asking why everyone in government smells like lighter fluid. Meanwhile, a House ethics investigation, midterm panic, and public anger over gas prices are all stacking up like unpaid utility bills on a kitchen counter. The courts are adding their own fireworks, with the Supreme Court preserving access to mail-order mifepristone, while Louisiana lawmakers moved to erase a majority black congressional district, setting off a voting rights fight that is uglier than a mud fence in August. At the same time, the White House is backing a giant national mall religious revival, because apparently when inflation, war, and scandals hit at once, somebody in Washington says, "Have we tried turning the country off and praying it back on?" And look, folks can pray, protest, vote, organize, and yell into a casserole dish if they need to, because everybody is trying to survive the same chaos from a different pew. But when leaders lean on spectacle while the gas pump, the courts, the war room, and the ethics office are all blinking red, It starts to feel less like governing and more like a tent revival held beside a burning oil refinery. In conclusion, today's news is one long receipt from a country trying to buy stability with a maxed-out card. Trump is making big deals with China while allies wonder if they are still in the group chat. Iran is turning a narrow waterway into a global economic choke collar. Gas prices are mugging commuters in broad daylight. And Washington is producing scandals faster than a county fair deep fryer makes questionable decisions. The whole thing feels like America is driving a lifted truck through a thunderstorm with the check engine light on, arguing with China over the radio, and somehow the GPS is just screaming "recalculating" in 6 different languages.